That's right, Elaine. As you can see behind me, a ton of people are lining up for potentially the last runway show of the season, and they all head off to London for London Fashion Week. But as you mentioned, yes, over the years, New York Fashion Week has become a lot more diverse, and we've been seeing a lot more Asian designers showcasing here, both established ones and some newcomers. Now, some of the ones we saw this year that sort of stood out was Tal Ray Wong, which is a label by Chinese designer Wong Tao. She's been showing at New York Fashion Week for 5 years now, so she's somewhat of a veteran. For the latest collection, so the Fall/Winter 2019 collection, she was really inspired by two women, 1970s supermodel Lauren Hutton and the youngest daughter of Donald Trump, Tiffany Trump, who's been a longtime supporter of the label. Now, this is a brand that really caters to strong, powerful women, so you see a lot of suits on the runway in dark colors like black, charcoal gray, as well as navy. But there were some splashes of color. We saw some really beautiful mustard yellow outfits, as well as some belted coats with a flash of a hot pink in there. Now, another veteran here at New York Fashion Week is Chinese designer Lan You. Her collection was inspired by fairies, so some beautiful evening gowns that were very whimsical in these gorgeous sort of pastel pinks and purples and blues, and she had some beautiful wedding gowns on display as well. Now, over at Chengpeng, a totally different kind of vibe, very street. That collection was inspired by the Himalayas, so we saw a lot of puffy jackets, a lot of faux fur, and some very interesting scarves with these bizarre hands on the end of it. So certainly not for shy, retiring types. And in fact, we've seen that Lady Gaga, model Bella Hadid, and actress Fan Bingbing have worn some of their outfits. And showing for the first time at New York Fashion Week was Vietnamese designer Kong Tri. Now, he's very well known in Vietnam, but not quite as well known here in the United States, although he has been worn by Katy Perry, Rihanna, and Gwen Stefani. A lot of buzz for this show. In fact, the New York Post said it was one of the top 3 newcomers to watch, and it certainly got a lot of press. I mean, you can see why. The outfits were absolutely gorgeous, certainly red carpet worthy. There were these silver and black dresses with these winged shoulders and this gorgeous red dress with a big bow in the front. So certainly something that the celebrities in Hollywood might want to wear. We also hit the Indonesian Diversity Show while here at New York Fashion Week. That's where 4 different designers from Indonesia were represented. One of them I thought was very interesting, was talking about modest fashion and how this designer really wants to push it forward and break down some of the perceptions we have about that. Let's take a look. Models for 4 Indonesian designers hit the runway at New York Fashion Week in the Indonesian Diversity Show. For Alera Batik, the inspiration behind the collection was the island of Bali, known for its beaches, rice paddies, and rich culture. It was the label's first New York runway show. It was all about growing the brand.
We want Alera can global, can our customer, every overseas can know about, oh, Alera, this is Alera in New York Fashion Week.
For designer Dionne Pallonji, the focus was on changing perceptions about so-called modest fashion.
Normally people think that modest fashion is all about the dresses, you should cover it from head to toe, but this now it's different, it's the evolution of modest fashion.
The collection was called Social Love, inspired by the power of social media.
We want to, connect to the people and then share inspirations. And from there, I think there's a lot of also bloggers, social media influencers that share their views about the modest fashion itself, and they share on social media. We want to embrace that kind of thing and then develop it to collections.
Pallonji's Instagram account has almost 5 million followers. The fashion industry isn't particularly inclusive, but things are starting to change. Today, you'll see a lot more diversity on the New York runways than in years past, and the designers are also becoming more diverse. No Sesso, a Los Angeles label that has been gaining buzz over the past few years, was the first show by a transgender designer at New York Fashion Week. A recent report found that the New York Fashion Week last September 2018 was the most diverse in its history in terms of representing different races, sizes, and ages. But Elaine, perhaps this season will top last year's record.